So here we go, let's do a quick video talking about Square and Square, or Block as it is now. It used to be Square, it's renamed Block now, and the ticker symbol is still the old ticker symbol, which is SQ. Let's talk about the stock. There's been big accusations out by a short seller. The stock is currently committing fraud, and we'll have a look at how serious this stock is. So as you can see here, it was down 14%. Originally pre-market, it was down at over 20%, so there was a little bit of buying that did come in. In the pre-market though, it is down 4% today, so that will actually take it back down to where it was originally when the short report came out, and this has devastated the stock. The stock has already been down a fair bit since 2021. From that point of view, it was nearly $300, and from when it was $300, obviously it's down to $61 now. It could enter the 50s today, and if it does enter the 50s, it hasn't been the $50 range since the peak CV fear times, and the other last time would have been around 2018. So you can see here, this has caused a lot of pain on the stock. Now, the thing with Square that you got to take into consideration with the stock price is they do dilute shareholders a little bit. So you can see here that the shares outstanding from the likes of 2018, 2019 has gone up. So that's something to consider when you are looking at these share prices, but it just puts it into context a little bit. Now, short reports. There's always going to be a couple of short reports out there. Sometimes the short reports can be very true. Sometimes the short reports are not true. You've got to remember that why are these short reports released? Is it to save you and me and all these investors money and going, look, this company's frauding numbers, do yourself a favour, get yourself out of that stock? They don't do it for that reason. The reason why a lot of these short reports come out is so they can make money. So a lot of these short reports are brought out once that the company that does the short report has built up a short position in them. They hope that the short report is got enough fear in there or enough negatives that will bring the share price down, and then they are able to sell out their short position. And that is the big thing that there's a lot of criticism over, is that should that be allowed, and should the company that is doing these short reports, should there be more regulation on when they started opening a short position, when they opened a short position, when are they closing a short position, rather than just bringing these short reports out, because it does seem a little bit fishy to be doing that sort of thing. But hey, it is what it is. Now, an example of a short report that came out and wasn't as bad as what it seems is something like Enphase. Enphase had a short report on June 17th. They basically, their allegation was quite serious. They were saying that they actually frauded the numbers, the revenue numbers, and you can see here that they said that we estimate that at least 205 million of its reported US revenue in financial year 2019 was fabricated. That's a serious claim. You're making up that 200 million is not even correct revenue for a business. That's a really big claim, and that was on a company like Enphase. And you can see here, really since June time, when that did happen, and that claim was made by short sellers, the stock is up over 351%. So that's an example of and that's in the bear market, by the way. If it wasn't for the bear market, I'm sure it'd be up even more. But that's an example of a stock that had major claims about the numbers being fraudulent, and you can see here that it wasn't, and the company's doing absolutely amazing now, and that would have been a good opportunity for a short report that was incorrect. Another example of a short report that did turn out to be very correct was like Nikola, and this was actually by Hindenburg, and this is why Hindenburg really had a big reputation. Now, automatically, whatever the short report is, I think Hindenburg gets to the point of view now where they were the ones that found out Nikola were a fraudulent company, and automatically the stock will drop just because it's Hindenburg now, because they've kind of got that reputation of taking down a company that was major fraudulent. And that was the case with Nikola and Trevor Milton. You might remember they had the videos of the trucks, the EV lorries driving down the road, and it's like, oh, look at this, they're driving down the road, and then eventually it came out, oh yeah, actually they pushed it down a hill and then started recording, and it was like it was a different level. So that's why Hindenburg have a pretty good reputation at the moment since that time of view. So there's two ways I could have done this. There was the way that I could have gone through every point. There's quite a few points that are repetitive, and I could have read them all out to you and give my point on every single one. I thought that would be boring. I think if you wanted to read this, you can read this, and I thought that would be boring to read every one to you and go through every point. Or I could kind of give it a quick overall summary, and I thought I'd go with a quick overall summary. So I hope that was the right decision that you wanted to point out. or wanting me to do. So the short report isn't really devastating. It isn't a big claim of like a Nikola where there was a lot of things inside the company that were, very, very fraudulent. It wasn't a claim of like Square have been inflating the revenue numbers or anything like that. There was really two key points that were with Cash App. It was mainly focused around the Cash App part of the platform. There was two key points to the Block side of it. The first point was there's not much regulation on the Cash App. And the regulation is like it's very easy to set up accounts. The Cash App can be used for illegal services or a crime, which without doubt does go on in the Cash App platform and probably does go on in many payment platforms. That is the one big issue. How can you improve the regulation with that? And it is something that Square will need to work on, and there is, there's no smoke without fire. There is issues there that they do need to improve on, and I'm sure they will continue to improve on, and that was probably the major thing that was in this short report. So yeah, the Cash App do need to do better, but it's not something that's a major issue. It's not something that will send Block to bankruptcy. So there is that issue there, but it wasn't a major issue. The other issue that they had with Block is that they were on about the inflated user metrics. So Block come out and say, "Oh, well, this is the amount of users that we're growing," and Hindenburg were like, "There's banned accounts that are still being used in them numbers. There's things where people can have two different accounts, where they can have a banking account and they can use a stocks account as well, and then they count that as two separate accounts rather than actually one user." Which you can see why Block do break that down into different accounts, because their whole point is to get someone in the platform, and then as soon as they're in the platform, use the different accounts that they offer, and then obviously that makes the numbers look really good. I mean, that's clever by Square. Should it be allowed? Shouldn't it be allowed? Is it inflating numbers? Obviously, there's an element that you've got to work out that there's probably a little bit of, it is used to make the numbers look better. Many companies do it. It is what it is. So once again, there is some truth there with what Hindenburg reported, but it wasn't a major issue. So when you consider them two major issues there, that it wasn't when I read the report, I wasn't blown away like, oh, this is seriously bad for Block. But there was things like, okay, you can understand why they have reported on this. So yeah, overall, I wasn't really looking at this report thinking it was a major issue for Square. As always, these short sellers will exaggerate a lot of points as well, which you've always got to be careful of. There were points like, Cash Apps used in a it was like a music video, in a rapping music video, and there was things like insiders. It's in the title, as you can see here. Insiders sold some shares. Unfortunately, there's nothing wrong with insiders selling shares, and in fact, when a lot of the insiders were selling shares, they were selling it at like $200, $300, which you can't blame them for selling shares. And as well as that, I think a lot of the shares are awarded to them, or a lot of their income is awarded by shares, and that's why the shares outstanding is a little bit higher on Block. So they are going to eventually sell some shares at some point, so that I wasn't thinking that was a major issue. There's nothing illegal with that. So overall, like, the Hindenburg report, in my opinion, wasn't a major issue for Square, and without doubt, this isn't going to put Square in a position where we're worried about if Square's going to be still operating in a few months' time. It's one of those where Square might look at this and go, yeah, we just need to secure them accounts up a little bit. But apart from that, it wasn't the best short report that I've seen, and definitely from Hindenburg. And from a Block's point of view, have they responded? They have responded. They didn't go into the point of view of getting back and forth about every point. They just basically said that they're going to work with the SEC and they're going to explore legal action against Hindenburg Research for the factual, incorrect and misleading report they shared about the Cash App business. So it looks like Block are going to take legal action against Hindenburg. So that's good that they responded quite straight away and went straight away with, we're not going to get in a back and forth, we're going to actually go with legal action against you. So obviously that's a really good response from Block. So yeah, overall, not a major short report from my point of view. I was surprised to see the share price crater as much as what it did. I didn't think it was that much of a major issue. From my point of view, will I potentially buy some Block here? I'm going to give it a couple of days to settle. and then we'll see where we're at, and if this stock does settle around this 60, 50, high 50 range after this short report, I think I could be quite happy to buy here. Like I said, there wasn't anything in there that got me kind of worried, and there's not really any significant claims that was in that short report. There isn't anything about financials being misleading or fraud in financials. So yeah, I'm not really worried, and if anything, I think this potentially could be quite an interesting drop. And like I said, I'm just going to give it a few days to see where it settles, but I think this is not the worst short report I've ever seen. I think it was there wasn't really anything that was kind of stand out. Oh, that's, you're one of those where you read it and you go, that's not great. There wasn't really that much in there. So yeah, we'll see what it settles out, but I might potentially buy a few shares in it, and that's my thoughts on the short report at the moment anyway. So I hope you enjoyed the video anyway, guys. Let me know what you think. Are you avoiding this one? Are you a buyer at the moment? Let me know in the comment section, and catch you in a bit.